Thanks for taking the time to come to Chase the Dream, no excuses. I hope today that it'll be a day where you think about your business and a day of networking. It's an opportunity to meet like-minded photographers and of course discover some great new products from the Celex range. I'm Bernie, by the way, for those of you that don't know me. I'm a photography business coach. And today we're going to have a presentation by myself. And that's going to run for about an hour and a quarter, where hopefully we'll try and get your head a little bit settled in pricing your products. Anybody have a problem pricing their products? Come on, you may as well all put your hand up. I mean, it's a fact, isn't it, that in the photography industry we all undercharge. Wouldn't it be great if we could all lift our prices up and also lift the profile, therefore, of the industry? But there are certain things we have to take into consideration, so we'll look at those in my presentation. After a break, then we'll have Sarah Taylor, who will talk on social marketing. Sarah isn't here yet because she lives in Geelong, where she's had an amazing success story, so we'll talk to you about that later. She'll help you with your social media marketing, with your Facebook and all those things you like to play with. So it's a pretty full day, some eating, some networking, a lot of education and some new products to have a look at. Okay, so just as a guide to give me an idea of who we've got in the room, just show me if you're part-time in your photography and full-time, make all your income, living, feed the kids, send them to school with your photography. Great, that's fantastic. Who's just starting out? Just starting? I've got a book for you. You're the only one. Yeah, you're the only one who gets scored. Yeah. Well done. Didn't even have to win it. I've got one or two books to give away today as well. So there's a couple on weddings, how to motivate, manage and market yourself, little things like that. We'll begin a few giveaways. Okay, pricing your photography for profit. So how do most of you price your product? Do you guess? Can anyone help me? Can someone tell me how they price the product?
10% of what the product is purchased for.
Is that multiplication times 10?
Yeah. So if it costs $100, you charge $1,000.
Okay. What if it costs $2?
You charge, depend on what it is, with the value of the product and
what if
how
it's
you
a
can
single
add
print of 5x7?
I wouldn't sell it.
Okay. So unless you can multiply it by 10 and make a good profit, you don't sell it?
Depending on the product. I might, if it's a $2 print, I'd add it in as a upgrade or a bonus to say thank you.
Okay. Anybody else want to give some comment?
Well, I usually do research on the net on everyone's prices.
Right. So you get everyone's prices on the internet. Is that within the local area or the world?
Local.
The local? And then what, you just pick the medium price?
Then I tailor it to my needs.
Right. What are your needs? To earn more money than them?
Well, no.
Okay.
To get the work. But I do my research first.
Okay. So you look at your local competitors.
Yes.
And then how do you price it? Cheaper, the same or more?
Some are more.
Some are more?
Yeah, some are cheaper. It just depends on what I've come up with.
Okay. Anybody else?
I first look at my expenses.
My
expenses, my business operating expenses that I have.
Yep.
So then according to that, what?
So your business expenses, you do what with them? You say that's how much I want to earn?
Well, that's the minimum cost I have to get paid in to my business. And then
Right.
obviously I give myself a salary as well.
Okay.
And that determines what I'm pricing for.
Anybody else?
Yeah, work out what you want to make a year and then divide it by the number of jobs you want that to be over.
Right. With weddings and portraits?
More weddings,
What about portraits?
sure, but that would be as a
Separate thing?
separate thing, yeah.
Who else wants to give me a go? One more? Yep.
You work out your costs of running your business, including how much you want to make,
Right.
and the cost of goods.
Yeah.
Then you come up with a, say, big, like 30% of your, and then you divide it by how much you want to make per sale. I don't need to do portraits, I don't have to worry
Right,
about
yep.
things. And then you make a margin, like 30-40%
Right.
of that. And then you look around you and see, hang on a minute, am I actually competitive? Because if I'm not competitive, then I should shut shop and just go home.
Right. And how's that working for you?
Pretty good.
Pretty good? That's the main thing, okay? So, we all price differently, and I'm going to go through some of the things where we price our work, and it's quite interesting, isn't it? We're not retail, we don't sell purely retail, we're a service business as well. So there are a couple of things we have to take into consideration. So the question for me is, are you testing or are you guessing? Are you just picking numbers? Are you testing the market? Are you seeing what the market can stand? Are you going to the market with your prices? Or are you just throwing numbers around and hoping? This is a question you have to ask. Is there a reason for what you're pricing for? Obviously, some of you have a reason. You copy, or you do this, or you do that. So, I just want to go through, the whole purpose of the exercise is to make you think, right? Think about what you're doing, think about your pricing, think about your products. Because price is very important, because you could be losing thousands of dollars if you haven't got it right, if you're undercharging. So who ultimately sets your prices is an interesting question. Who sets your prices? Do you, or does the customer? If you price too highly and you don't make sales, that's no good. If you're undercharging, then you're losing money. So who's really setting the prices? Is it the customer? One yes. Fantastic. Good. Isn't it with anything that maybe the customer sets the price? When we buy anything ourselves, don't we set the price? Don't we buy it because we're willing to pay that amount of money for that particular product? It's not the price, it's whether we're willing to pay that for that product. Because we all spend our money in different ways, and so it is with our customers. I was reading only yesterday about, talking about photography as a luxury item. Is it? I know in my business I had people with not much money spend a hell of a lot on the portraits. It wasn't a luxury for them, it was something they really, really wanted. So we have to look at our pricing and where we set it. So I'm going to get you to think about what you're doing and maybe even challenge you a little bit and to reconsider your prices. Before we choose prices, the first thing we have to do is to choose products, right? How can we set prices for anything unless we've got the right products? So your first challenge would be to select the products that you want to sell. Because within the Celdex range, and have you seen Seldex's price list, it's got so much stuff on it, you have to work out what products you are going to sell. And those products should satisfy a couple of criteria. One is yourself, maybe, but one is that they're very saleable, that they work with the branding of your business, and that they suit the demographic that you're working with. So the first thing you do is sort your products, right? I've got a couple of Seldex products here, and Seldex have got the biggest range, I think, of any supplier. So if we look at this product, which is one of the best products that I like. This is the Artisan Mount, which includes printing by Seldex on German etching or canvas, BFK, Rivers paper, and hand torn with decal edge and all of that. Now that's a great product, right? So, but does that suit your brand? So, as I work with a lot of photographers say, but I like that, or I don't like that. I never worried what I liked or didn't like. I thought, what will my customers buy? So you have to surely take that into consideration. Is it what you like, or is it what your customers will buy? Because all tastes are different. So there's a lot of testing to be done to find out what your customers want to buy. Also with the products, we've got some, lots of little products. This is a little brag book that I used to sell a lot of, quite inexpensively at $149, but I had to buy a wall print to get one of these. So also you've got to think in terms of your product, of how you're going to sell them, how you're possibly going to package them. Obviously we've got all sorts of colours you can get, all sorts of finishes. So the first thing to do is to select your products. Now if it's portrait, what product do you want to sell the most of? Well, I would think it'd be the most expensive product, or a wool product. That's what you want to sell the most of. Because if you can get a wool product to be a core product, then you're going to have a good average sale. So your core product is very important. So if you're going to sell wall art, then I suggest you choose 3 or 4 different types of wall art. So it could be this one, could be canvas, could be acrylic, and that will do. There are so many you could. You could go to prints on metal and so on and so forth. So if you start segmenting what products you want to sell and just limit yourself in some ways, because isn't the reality that the customer is only going to buy what you're selling? I realised that when I went just to black wedding albums. Only black. Any colour black. I only sold black. They only bought black. I only showed them black. And the same with frames. I only showed black frames, and that's all they bought. And they never asked, oh, can I get this in? Can I get this in that? Can I get this in that? So they saw that's what I sold. So with your products, you've got to really sort them out. Have a variety of products. So in portraits, it enables them the opportunity of buying more than one product. Your goal shouldn't be to sell one big print. Your goal should be to sell lots of different products. So that may be a wall print, an album, and a DVD of the images. That's the only way you're going to get your average sale up, as well as putting your prices up. So you want them to sell multiple things. With wedding albums, of course, you can sell different sizes or different quality. It's a really great new product. This new one I really like, with the sort of deckled edge and the art paper. That's a fantastic range. I would sell that if I was still running my studio today. This is a great product, but it depends on your demographic, all right? So you have to sort out your products. That's our starting point. So we're just going to 7 mistakes photographers make. And I've got to say, this is Bernie's 7 mistakes, not my mistakes. It's mistakes I see photographers making that I think are mistakes, okay? And there's only 7 there's probably 8 or whatever. One of the things I found with consulting with photographers is on their price list, they make a price the most standout feature of the price list. Usually it's in a bigger font and a different colour. So when the consumer looks at the price, they see price list, all they see is price. So I suggest you try not to do that. Don't make price the be-all and end-all of your product. There's a lot more to sell besides price. And I don't believe that people buy on price, because once you start believing that, you'll just keep reducing your prices. I never believed people bought on price. They bought because they wanted. So don't make price stand out as the only thing that you've got to offer. I suggest you can even embed price into the text that you use to describe the products. Generally, we get a bit carried away and we get a bit of a brain fade and we try to sell too many products and we make it too complicated that we can't even understand it, no mind the customers. Has anyone got a price list like that? That they don't understand? It's very easy to do. You can get a little bit carried away and just add this, or add that, or I saw this photographer last week, they were selling that, I'm going to sell that. You've got to test and measure your own products for your own marketplace. This is a price list I came across 4 or 5 years ago in Sydney, and it's the most amazing price list I've ever seen. You probably can't see it clearly. There's 8 packages there. This is the wedding price list. There's 8 packages. The most expensive being 3,000, and each offered different things. So with package 5, it was very stylish, flexibility of a mixture of matted and digital pages. The pages can be black or white. The album comes with 26 sides with the option to add more pages, viewing session after the wedding, up to 7 hours of photography time, and a high resolution image plus a slideshow. And that's just one of them. So obviously with this client I had to cut that 8 down to 3 because I didn't understand it. So, and the problem is with a complex price list you tend to talk more about price, don't you? You get this price engagement. What if I get that? How much is that? Well, what if I get a big one? How much is that? You don't, your customers are asking you that engagement with price. The thing with price as well, what I found, as I was doing a bit of research, there are so many places that you can find information about pricing. I've got a working pro from 2004, 7 steps to calculating your fees, you know, talking about pricing. There are so many ways of sorting out your pricing, and this was actually bought this off the internet as a template for a price list. I didn't buy it because I wanted to use it, I just bought it as part of the presentation. So even that is fairly complex in itself. It's got 3 packages, then a la carte. The other thing I find with pricing is, if I go to many different websites, some websites have got pricing on and some haven't. Who puts the prices on the website? Who doesn't? Who doesn't put any price at all? I reckon we're 50-50. It's about half-half to who puts prices on and who doesn't, which is interesting, isn't it? Can someone tell me why they put the prices on?
I don't put prices on, I put a range.
You put a range, so a lot of people put a range, yeah? Who puts a full price list on? Yeah? Why do you do it?
When I'm browsing things and looking for prices for things, I want to see what it is there, I don't want to follow up with it. So I think we could lose someone if they come and have a
So are you saying that, in your opinion, if you went to a website, you would want to see the prices?
Yes.
Okay.
I wouldn't need to see all the prices, but I'd like to know if I'm in the ballpark before I even approach somebody. Am I going to be even able to look at their starting point or not?
Right. So what if the prices weren't there? What would you do?
Keep going.
Keep going.
Would you? So for that photographer, you're not their customer.
Yep.
And that's fine, isn't it? Don't sort of try and... Do you want customers like yourself?
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah, because they're up, going on.
Do you want customers to spend as much money as you would spend or more? A lot more, right? Yeah. So your customers aren't you. And this is the hard part. It's the hard part of trying to work out your pricing, right? You think you make decisions based on you. In my experience, over 4 decades of having a photography business, what I finally learned was it wasn't about me, what I liked, it was about what they liked. So I had to turn my thinking around. It was the same in the photography. It was not only taking what I liked, I had to take what they would buy, that they liked. So that's why I became very good at taking saleable photos. I knew what they wanted. I learned what they wanted. All I had to do was take it. So try and think about whether you are your ideal customer as you go out into the marketplace. Maybe you are. Or maybe you want something a little bit higher than yourself. I know I did. You see, I'm not the sort of person that would spend $10,000 to $15,000 on a wedding album, but my clients were. I'm not the sort of person that would spend over $1,000 on portraits. I wouldn't. Would you? Would you? You wouldn't? It's okay. It's all right if you haven't got a family portrait on the wall. It's all right, you know. It's okay. You're all right. It's about your clients. What do they want? So just think about that a little bit. I digress because we got a lot copy of the photographers, as we've discussed. It may be good just to get some feel about what other photographers cost, but does it matter? Because they're all different anyway. So how many do you look at? 5, 10, 15, 20? And then when do you come to the conclusion? You know, the reality is, and I've always said this, your competitors are not paying your bills. You are. So you have to work out your own way of pricing. Another mistake photographers make generally is that they set their prices and then never change them. Yes, there used to be an old saying, you put your prices up 15% a year or 10% a quarter or 5% every whatever. But is that the right way to go? Is it better that you do it a bit more strategically than that? And keep records, see what your core products are, and put the price of your core products up. Now, a core product is something you sell most of to most of your customers. Everyone in business has a core product. I'm sure McDonald's have a core product. That's a product we sell the most of by far. So, if you monitor that, you monitor your prices, products, then eventually you'll come to the market, right? That's what we're trying to do. That's what I recommend. We go to the market with our prices, but we do it slowly. We don't overprice, so we have to reduce prices. We just put it at a point where we're happy, and then we raise them as our core product sells more of. For example, if you have 10 wedding inquiries, right, and you've got 4 packages, and out of those 10 people that come in, 5 book, which is realistic, 50%, and out of those 5, 4 of them buy package 3. What are you going to do with package 3? Put it up. And what are you going to do with package 4? Put it up. Buy how much? As much as you can in your own head. Could be 100, could be 200. So the next 5 that come in, they're still buying this particular package, put it up. So you're going to the market, right? You're defining what the market will pay. Because other than doing it that way, you don't know, do you, how much they're willing to pay. So there's a lot of test and measure. So you do have to change your prices, not all of them, regularly. We test and measure. Know your numbers and make adjustments accordingly. I'll talk about that in a minute. Test and measure. I've tried with photographers putting a full price list on and a price guide, no prices. The conclusions we come to with this, and you can do this test and measure yourself, if you put all your prices on, you get less wedding inquiries. If you don't put your prices on, you'll get some good wedding inquiries. If you put a price guide, you'll get some good wedding inquiries. So you can test that. Try it for a month. See what response you get or you're getting from prices on your website. It may diminish your inquiries, but the inquiries you get may be better inquiries. So best to test and measure. Because I know in my business, every phone call in my diary, not every phone call, but if it's a wedding inquiry, I write it in the diary. So at the end of the week, I could see how many wedding inquiries I've got, and I'd record that, so then I could see how many people I converted to come in, and then when they came in, I could work out how many converted to bookings, and out of those bookings, which ones booked in at particular packages. So then I could monitor what's happening. What am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? It's been a bit of talk of late. I've been hearing about the multiplication factor on wholesale costs. Obviously, it's the way you do it. But it can fall a little bit apart, can't it, if we're buying a 5x7 print for $2 and we want to multiply it by 10 or 50 or whatever. It falls down a little bit. Like in my case, I was selling a 5x7 for $145, so that's a big multiplication factor. That's that product. Then there'll be other products, you know, that, well, everything I sold had a high multiplication factor if you were to work it out that way, but I didn't work it out that way. I went to the market with my price, and when they accepted it, I put it up, and then when they stopped accepting it, I put it back down to less $100 or whatever it had taken them over. So the multiplication factor, I've tried. I've spoken to my accountant many times. The problem is we sell so many different products at different prices, don't we? It's a real mishmash of product. It's not like we're a dress shop and we're only selling dresses. We're only selling shoes. We're selling small prints, albums, frame prints, canvas, metallic. They all come with it at a different price. So using a multiplication factor And yes, you can work out your overheads, you can work out the material costs, you can work out your time, but still, how do you do it? What do you multiply it by? And if you under-multiply it, you're going to lose money. Some photographers base their photography on an hourly rate. I can't quite sort of work that out myself. Can anyone explain why they charge an hourly rate? Or if they do? Maybe no one here does. Does anybody put a value on the time? Do you think you should charge an hourly rate? What would be a realistic hourly rate? Would realistic hourly rate be $50, $100, $200, $300? How do you work it out? Anybody going to help me? Sarah Taylor. Yes, how do you work your hourly rate out?
I set my hourly rate at $250 an hour.
Good. Well, no one else does. And I'm also saying it's one of the mistakes photographers make, trying to work out an hourly rate. Again, with pricing, if you start like this, you know, if you're doing it successfully, fantastic, you know, feel free to tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. But I always looked upon the business as a whole. I didn't particularly value my time, but all I knew is I had to put in that time to produce that product. So, if one of my core products, which it was $1,450, right? Portrait product, $1,450. How much time did it take me? Well, 1 to say 3 hours to produce that product. I'm getting $1,450. If I divide 3 into 450, that's a pretty good hourly rate, isn't it? If I were to do that, but I didn't do it. It was all about selling products. So it's very difficult to put a value in your time when your time you can lessen anyway by doing things a different way, by outsourcing maybe, with a great new software that's come out now that can help us in our businesses. So the reality is, if we put a price on our time, it's a bit unrealistic, isn't it? If you're photographing a wedding and you say 7 hours, does that include the 2 hours you're waiting for the bride? Or you're waiting for something to happen? So you're charging waiting time. It's very difficult, isn't it? And then you've got all the post-production time, etc. So for me, it was always better to sell a product as a whole. So you put a price on your product. And the price on your product is determined by your marketplace. All right? So I just want to do a little exercise. You've got to understand this about the perceived value of the product you're selling should be higher than the actual price. I can't remember anything that I've bought where I valued it higher than what I paid for it. And all of you women know that, right? Your perceived value of the new pair of shoes is far higher than the actual cost of them, especially if they're on sale. And that's a double bonus, right? So we have the customer, we have to get the customer to seeing the perceived value is a lot higher than what we're actually charging for it, and then they'll buy it. And then it's a good buy, right? And there are ways we can do that, all right? So the question is, how do we set our prices? How do we do it? My question was, how much do I want to earn? And someone over there spoke about working out how much they want to earn to work the prices out. Who was that? So if I said to you, how much do you want to earn? Your reply would be,
$80,000.
$80,000 a year or a week?
No,
A year. Okay. $80,000 a year. So for me, when I'm asked the question, the answer is, I want to earn as much as possible. Don't you? Would you rather earn as much as possible or 80,000?
It depends.
On what? On you?
Yeah, but there's also work-life balance, so I need to factor that in as well.
Okay.
Obviously, if you ask me, do I want to sell my products at the highest price possible, I would say yes.
Yes. So now we're sort of getting somewhere about the mindset, aren't we? So if you take that lid off and say, I want to earn as much as possible, can you fail? Not really. The goal to earn 80,000. Yes, you may not earn 80,000. May keep you awake at night thinking about 80,000. I've got to earn 80,000. Set a goal, 80,000, 80,000. So I find, you know, in my experience, the mind is an enormously powerful thing, and if you start to put limits on it, it will limit you. So it's like when you're trying to get fit and you go on the treadmill like I used to and set it for 10 minutes and it's like 10 minutes of and then 30 seconds to go and then done and you go, fuck, get it. What if I'd have set that treadmill for 20 minutes? What if I hadn't set it for any time? How long could I have gone? I wonder. You don't. I don't know, do I? I could have kept running till I collapsed. So once you set sort of, it's okay trying to set realistic goals, that's fine, but don't limit your potential. So in many ways I've been fortunate in my business life that I've endured 40 years of it, never having any failures. Because at all times I did the best I could, because I wanted to earn as much money as possible. So that was my drive. There was no limit. So when you're thinking about prices and you're thinking of structure, just open your mind and say, I want to earn as much as possible. And be proud that that's what you want to do. And then, who knows where you'll go with that. So, my method of determining price, and a few of you know this, is called Bernie's cringe factor method. So, this is a very simple method of determining your own price. So it goes something like that, this. Come on stage with me, because you've sat in the front row, you're right in the middle, you've just started your business, so we may as well give you a hard time. Closer. Yeah, so we can give you with a mic. What was your first name?
Kirsten.
Kirsten, is this your first presentation in front of 90 people?
Yes.
Excellent. That's great. You've decided that this is one of your products that you want to sell. How much are you going to charge for it?
How much does it cost me?
It costs $77, including GST. How much are you going to sell it for?
I'm going to say 450.
450. Where did that number come from?
Just net it up. I thought it would be what I would pay for it, maybe.
Okay. So that's your cringe factor, right? That's what you go, oh, I can't charge any more for that. right? So what if we put it in a frame, and then how much can we charge for it?
On another few hundred.
How much?
I don't know, about 650?
650. That's great. Do you know what we've just done? We've added $200. The frame's costing you $80. You've just made another $120 net profit. Okay?
You okay?
Yeah, great. So that's your starting point, 650. You sell it for what it is, which is a beautifully finished print. It's archival, it lasts a lifetime, it's on German paper, all the rest of it, sell the benefits, and suddenly that's this 650. People will buy it, and then you put the price up. After first 2 people have bought it, put the price up another $50 or wherever your cringe factor will allow you to go, and before you know it, you'll be selling it for $950. And that's one product. So that's Bernie's cringe factor method of determining price. So we're taking it to the market. All right, we're seeing what the market will stand. Our particular market, all right? Because there are different marketplaces out there, but it'll be our marketplace. So just to sum up, and just to totally confuse your brains, I'm going to throw this slide up, which contradicts a little bit of what I've said, but you may feel more comfortable with using Bernie's cringe factor method. So what your prices should reflect your experience, maybe. I would suspect that you feel you can't charge as much as others because you've lacked experience, but maybe you get good very quickly. Maybe within a year or two you are taking photographs like that. Well, not like that, because that takes 35 years to learn to do that. Your talent and photography skills you can develop quickly. The facility you work out of, whether that's home or whether that's in a commercial premises, it's also how you present yourself, right? So you have to present everything you do in a way that reflects your prices. Also your location. If you're in a down market area, it may be difficult to sell things at a higher price. And also the way you present your products. It's very fortunate nowadays, there's some great ways that we can present our products to give them added value, so that the customer's perception is that they're worth more. So obviously with this album, if these prints were just loose, the perceived value would be fairly low, but because they're put into a book, they're the same thing, they're images, and because they're on art paper and it's got this decal edge and it's got this beautiful cover and it's blind embossed with the names, the perceived value goes up. So that's the beauty of choosing the right products. In my experience, it's got a little bit harder, but only a little bit. There's a lot of perception out there that, you know, we're undercut by a lot of cheapy photographers. They've always been there. There'll always be photographers who charge less than you. There'll always be photographers who charge more than you. But I suggest that you move towards the photographers who are charging more than you, because there are a lot less of them. If you try and sort of compete in the lower end of the market, there's a lot of players there, so it's a lot harder. So you may as well lift your act, lift your game, work harder, create fantastic images, present them in an incredible way that people can't resist them, and they buy them and pay a good price for them to allow you to make a profit. Have we got any questions? I noticed you all started thinking about halfway through that presentation, and that was good, because the presentation was to make you think. So what you have to do from now is sort of think for a while and then start to act and go back to your price list and say, price list, I hate you, and rip it up and throw it in the bin and start again. If you want to do that, that will be very cleansing for you. The price, yep, I have a question, fantastic.
So what do we do if our testing the market shows us that we don't get the prices that we would like?
Well, you could move. You know, with success always comes a price, right? I've seen photographers move from state to country to be more successful. You know, we all know photographers that are overseas, perhaps based in America or England or Canada, I know one. So they've gone there for a reason, right? They're willing to pay any price for their success. So, yeah, if it necessitates that, get out of that. Any more questions just before we close? Can you just grab a entry form there for me? So we're going to have a break now, and then I'll introduce Sarah Taylor. So a half-hour break. For those of you who don't know, this is Wendy. She's my PA, wife. Do everything. The reason that I succeed is because of the strength of the woman. So there are some entry forms we'll be giving to you. If you want to just put your name and email address, we're going to put them in that box. We're going to draw one out at the end of the day. This is for one of my 5-session Business Boost programs, and we normally do those over Skype. If you live close by, I'll come and visit you. And we'll talk about marketing and portrait sales processes and cash flow and streamlining workflow, social media, and anything else you want, pricing even. Hey. So we'll put these on the chairs, I think, for when you next come in.